Hey, worship leader, welcome back to the channel. I have a very special guest with me today, fellow YouTuber, Rylan. I can't get your name right. Rylan Russell. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, dude. Jimmy, it's awesome to be here on your channel. I love the stuff that you're putting out over there. Hey, worship leader. And just happy to be here to get to do this little chat with you.
Yeah, man. I actually have been a subscriber on your channel for... It was in the pandemic. I think I was searching something and your stuff came up. And so it's helpful. I love your authenticity. I noticed that you're almost at 3,000 subscribers.
Am I really?
I think so.
All right, let's go. Dude, hit that sub button, people. Come on.
Hit it right now. Let's get them to 3,000 before the video's over. That would be cool. Also,
gotta feed my babies.
Because like 75% of people that watch these videos aren't subscribed. So I'm almost at 10,000. So that'll be cool.
That's awesome, man.
They're just
numbers.
That's very cool. They're very cool numbers. So anyways, yeah, so I was watching some of your channel and I wanted to talk about some stuff that I heard you talk about. I thought, man, this is good. So the topic of today, and then I'm going to ask you who you are, where you're serving and stuff. But the topic of today is that those of us who are on stage as worship leaders or behind the sound booth, how weird, how awkward it can be to like not have anything to do on a Sunday. So like you're there, somebody else is leading or somebody else is on the sound booth. That can be weird for us. So we're going to talk about that today, pros and cons, what we can do, why is it weird. But who are you? Where are you from? We know you have a YouTube channel. Where do you serve?
Sure. Well, I am a worship and media arts pastor here in Owasso, Oklahoma, which is just north of Tulsa area. And I've actually been here. I just celebrated my 12-year anniversary being full-time here on staff. So it's pretty crazy. My story going before that and kind of how I got here was I was a full-time media director at a church, and I was kind of traveling with my band and leading worship and kind of being like the youth worship leader at that church, and felt like I was really supposed to be doing more worship than media. And so now I get to do really, I'm a full-time media director and a full-time worship leader now is the way I like to say it.
Yeah, you get to do both.
But so over on my channel, I'm always talking about just like the latest worship tech and how do we do these really cool things and use tools, but still on a budget and try to be good stewards. Cause my church here, we run about 400 people on a Sunday. So we're not a mega church, but, just trying to do great things for God's glory is the way I like to put it on my channel.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you have a website, right? Like, where can people find you? How do they look you up?
Yeah, man. If you just search Ryland Russell, RYLAND, RUSSELL on any of the platforms, I'm on there, except Twitter. I'm only on there when OU football is going on. So
I'm also not a Twitter person. I just haven't been, but that's just me. Different. I'm more visual, so Instagram with pictures and videos, that's the way I go. And YouTube, the best one of all. That's awesome.
Yep.
Man, very, very cool. So 12 years. I just celebrated 5 years, and I thought that was a long time. So I can't imagine 12 years. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. It's like, I've got 3 kids, and 2 of them have been born since we've been here. And it's just, I've got one in the youth group now. He just started. It's like, wow. It's so cool to see. I am 38.
We are exactly the same age.
Let's go. 84.
I was 83, but yeah, December 27th, 1983. I must be a little older. That's how that works.
Well, I respect my elder.
There you go. So since you said tech and stuff, and you got 50 camera lenses behind you, what is your favorite camera? Whether you have it or not, like dream camera.
Sure.
I don't know.
I'm definitely a Panasonic guy. If anybody is familiar with me, we've got lots of Panasonic stuff. So the GH5, I'd love to get my hands on a GH6, but I've been all around the world with my GH5 and just that on top of a Ronin gimbal, and I'm good to go. I've done a lot of mission video work with a partner nonprofit, and I just super dependable. I shot it on Safari. I've done all kinds of things with it, and it's great here in the church week in and week out. So I'm a GH5 guy. I just love it.
That's what we have at the church. The guy who was there before, now we have a new guy, because I think we have 2 GH5s now. And so, yeah, that's the way to go. The no record limit, unlike
exactly
my Canon stuff here that likes to shut off after 29 and a half minutes or whatever. Beautiful things. Anyways.
Yeah, the cripple hammer.
Yeah, I would like to get a EOS R. The EOS R. because I
Now,
want
this is an RP that I'm on right now, just the little brother of it.
I just want the RF lenses. I want the 15 to 35. It's only $2,300.
Right? I mean, just chump change.
Yeah, but it's image stabilized. It's everything I don't have, and of course there's always that. So I'm thinking about, I need one more. I don't need anything, but I would like to have a 3 camera setup just for the YouTube space here, because sometimes I play guitar. So I want a nice shot there, one on my face, and then a top down shot, which I've been using the nice iPhone 11 regular.
Yeah. Why not?
It's fine. But anyways, I don't think I can justify the RF lens. So if I get one, then somebody will know that I spent too much money. Anyways.
Business expense.
Yeah, exactly. It's a write-off. Who writes it off? Anyways, okay, so on your YouTube channel, like I already mentioned, I was watching this. It was like a vlog style video, which I appreciate vlogs because, you got to change it up. So I like that there's that on your channel. You were talking about how difficult it is for people who are used to being on stage or used to being behind the sound booth. And I was trying to figure out what it was. It's like, we're used to having something to do. And then all of a sudden maybe you get a day off or you visit another church or whatever, and you have nothing to do. I know people struggle with this. It's like, if you don't have a job, then what am I supposed to do with my hands? So what are your thoughts? Maybe share a little highlights from that video or something, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, man. So at my 10-year mark here, I was given a sabbatical, which was such a blessing, to be able to go out for a couple of months and not be in charge of anything. And it was really at that point where this kind of subject really started coming to light for me. And because it took me probably a solid 3 weeks of not being in charge to realize how much I like that. And how much of a critical spirit and a prideful attitude I think we can really easily have as worship leaders, because we're just, like you said, we're always on stage. We're always in the booth. We're doing something. We're serving. And it's just so hard whenever we're not doing that to be led in worship. So that was kind of the topic of the vlog, is are you able to be led in worship when you're not leading in worship? Wow. And it's really, I think it's a struggle for a lot of us, if we're being honest with ourselves. It's so hard to not, evaluate the service or, judge how are they doing that thing, or, ooh, man, they didn't hit that note. And it's just to be able to receive what they're trying to do is they're leading us in worship. And so just trying to encourage guys, and even my own team, that, hey, when you're not scheduled, when you're not doing something, speaking to myself too, go and just be in a worship service and be led in worship and just participate as the congregation. And so I kind of hit on 3 different P's, because we're Christians and everything has to be
alliterated. Yeah.
Alliterated. Yeah. So, but the first one was just pride, dealing with that pride issue. And, so there's other stuff there, but, I don't know. Have you been able to get out? How much do you take off on a year? Do you get to get away? I don't know what to compare it to, but in my job description, I get technically 3 weeks, off to go travel, and then 3 weeks off for personal. So I get 6 weeks off a year. And those are Sundays. I get more time during, more vacation time or whatever during the week. But Sundays specifically, it's 3 for doing other ministry, a missions trip, or maybe me and you want to swap spots and trade churches or whatever, and then 3 off. And so that's been pretty good. I like that rhythm. And the problem I would say is that I did this more at the beginning, and I think it's just out of, I had a kidney transplant a few years ago, and I was out a lot more. And so since I've been back, I'm like, okay, I need to be here, not like a workaholic, but it's I don't know. I might be coming up on a time where I can be at my church and and have someone else lead. But I did experience that this past weekend. I went to the T4G conference, the last one ever, and in Louisville, Kentucky. And, I wasn't on stage. I didn't have to do anything. It was just a conference. 12,000 men there singing, and I was able to just worship, and it was refreshing. It wasn't weird. So that's one thing, but I think specifically it's being with your people,
sitting in the seats of the gathering with your people is something that I did when I was recovering from my transplant. I had like a transplant, which was a large recovery, and then I had 2 bonus surgeries after that I got to that wouldn't allow me to pick up more than 5 pounds. So I couldn't even pick up my guitar, even when I was leading, I didn't lead from guitar, which was uncomfortable for a bit. But yeah, so I got to just attend, and it was the same kind of thing. I had to learn, like, it's not about me, and thank goodness it's not about me, and how refreshing it was to just like to worship. And I have 2 things I want to say. I know I invited you on here to talk, but 2 things I was thinking now that I'm gonna forget him. My father-in-law, I don't know if he's watching this video, he probably won't, but he is been a great example to me to just be able to worship no matter where he is, no matter which church service he's in, if he's visiting. It's like it's between him, God, and the people in that room. And I'm seeing that, like, because he's not on a worship team, he's not musical at all. And like I would go to church services with him and just see him be able to freely be able to worship. And I don't know if it's he's older than me, obviously, he's my father-in-law, but practice or just spiritual maturity. But me, like you already said, like no matter where I go, I have to fight to not think about the lighting, the lyrics. Why'd they choose that font? Who's that singer? Would I ever let that person on there? Ooh, I'm not that good. Whatever it is, like, oh, maybe I should quit being a worship leader. There's all these thoughts. And like, even thinking during the service, like, I need to pay attention today. I'm going to pay attention, and in the middle of the prayer, be distracted by something. It is very difficult, very real. And I know I'm not in the sound booth often, but I know that's got to be the same thing. Like, oh my goodness, that volume transition from here to there, that mic, oh, they didn't turn the mic on, the guy's speaking, it can't, I'm sure there's always that stuff that can just distract us. And so I think it has to be something that we practice that more. And I think some of it's just like getting off the stage more. And now I'm talking to myself all the time.
Yeah, it's tough, man. And I love what you're saying, because the second P that I was talking about was just having perspective. And you get that when you take a Sunday off or multiple Sundays and you sit in the room with your people, because I remember doing that and realizing, those lighting cues, like, I thought they translated a certain way, but standing out here in the middle of the congregation, it's not really what I thought it was. Or, man, I bet if I sound like that, the way they're speaking in between those songs, like, it just feels awkward out here, things like that. And as a sound guy, that's even more important. You can walk the room a little bit with, iPads and stuff like that, but it's just not the same as just standing there singing along with people. Yeah. So just to have that perspective, I think is super important for us. And, people can complain, and my always answer is like, well, I'm on stage with in-ears in, man. Like, I don't even know what it sounds like out there. And that's not a good thing. Like, you need, as a worship pastor, to understand like how it's translating in the room from all different perspectives.
Right. Like a user experience, because there's definitely blind spots, and it's not about them being consumers. I'm just, we want, if we're going to put all this work into sharing the gospel, we want it to be presentable and not distracting. And you're exactly right. Like, I feel that same struggle. Like, we just now added room mics so that some of the vocalists, we can hear some of the reverb. We're not so isolated, and we can hear the voices singing. But yeah, someone will come up to me, and I'm at a church where I'm actually not over production at all. We have another full-time guy who's over that. And so when someone come up to me and be like, oh, the drums are too loud, I'm like, I was up here. Didn't you see? I'm not hearing. I'm behind those speakers. I don't talk like that to them, but I'm always like, wow, I don't know what it's like. And so, it's for those of us who are in charge of, like, for the lack of a better term, that user experience or those transitions, make sure everything is pointing to the gospel. Like we hope it does. And we hope that transition is not distracting. It's serving the moment. We have to know what's going on. So I think if there's one definite thing to take away, is that we need to build that in times to be out in the service. I'm preaching to myself. Like I said, it's been a while. And I think if we don't do that, we can also, you said it, one of the P's, the first one, it was pride. It's like, we think that if we're not up there, it's all going to fall down or fall apart. And that's not always true, especially if we're doing our job of replacing ourselves and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
equipping people to do the ministry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the third one that I hit on was just this idea of practicing being present. And it's so hard. I tell our worship teams, you're leading worship, but it is a sacrifice for you guys. You know, the sacrifice is you not being able to just really not have to be responsible for something. You're thinking the whole time about what you're playing, what you're singing. It's a sacrifice. You're not able to just be fed and be led, right? And so to be able to be out there in the congregation, just to be present is valuable. But even more than that, how often are worship pastors standing in the room with their children, worshiping with them? Do my kids only see me on stage with the light shining on me with a microphone in front of me? And so just a couple months ago, our youth were doing a night of worship. And honestly, like I usually just kind of let them do their thing, and I don't want to micromanage them. And so, but I heard them starting, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to stand on the front row, and I'm just going to worship. And not so that way people will look at me, but you know, if you've been to conferences or maybe you've led worship at other events or whatever, and there's other guys there, where do all the pastors, we all stand in the back. You know, we all stand in the back row for some reason, like we're just observing or something. And I want my children to see me be an example of worship on and off the stage, you know? And so just practicing being present that way, I think is probably pretty important.
That's awesome. My now that you say that, and I know this, my pastor does a good job. He'll welcome people at the back doors they're coming in, but then, you know, we got like 3 songs or so on the front end, and in the middle of the first song, he's making his way to the front and he's participating visually. And I just love that. It's nothing we've even ever talked about before, but that reminds me that years back when I was at another church, I couldn't get out of my head most of the time of like when I was sitting, you know, I think I would lead twice a month. And so I was off twice a month. And my wife like got on to me. She's like, man, when you're on stage, you lead. And then when you're off the stage, you look like, you know, I'm just standing there, my hands not raised. No, I'm just looking around. That's not necessarily what was going on in my heart, but visually that's what it looked like. It's like, well, the light's not on me. Oh, what does that say about how I worship? You know, and it was just like this thing of, I don't want to put on a show when I'm on front. And it wasn't about that for me. I was like, no, it just seems like when I'm on front, that's what's expected. And that's how I feel in the moment. And then when I'm down here, I'm not feeling that. And so I was just not allowing it. So I've challenged myself to, when I'm off the stage, still be the same energy, still lead that way, you know, just be myself, a worshiper, just be myself when I'm not on stage. And that can be hard when you're not used to doing it.
Yeah, man, it's a struggle for sure.
Yeah. I love what you said about like you being an example. I forgot, I was going to look it up, but it's in 1 Peter 3. I don't remember, where, you know, we're talking about shepherding the flock. And I think as worship leaders, we're called to shepherd our people, whether you want to think of yourself as a pastor or a shepherd, as someone who's bringing the sheep along, keeping them fed. And so one of my favorite things that I think a lot of pastors miss out on is he goes through all these, Peter lists all these things, but one of them is like being an example. And I think that's a lot of times where we mess up, because I think we get Ephesians 4 stuck in our heads that I'm up here, you know, the APEST, apostle, pastor, preacher, teacher, you know, that whole list to teach, to lead the people. I'm over here preparing you to go do this. And there's part of that that's true. But I think a lot of pastors I've seen have this attitude like, I don't have to do that. I'm here so that you can do that. I'm here to teach you or to push you to do that. And so there's this, we forget that like, oh yeah, we're also to lead by example. And I think we can miss that.
Yeah, like in 1 Peter 3, verse 8, you know, it tells us to love one another, be compassionate and humble. And like just having that humility when we lead, and that plays into that idea of like, this doesn't all depend on me. You know, like if I leave, they'll replace me. I'm very replaceable, and that's okay. Actually, I should be working on replacing myself. And it's that battle of wanting to feel needed, you know, in our jobs, like just as men, I think, that we are really good at what we do, but just being humble enough to, I'm going to let somebody else have the solo on Easter Sunday. It's not all about me.
Yeah.
Just stuff like that as leaders, it's a struggle, but we have to work on it,
So I'm thinking about people who are watching this and that aren't blessed to have been full-time for years, like you and I both, who are just getting by with an acoustic guitar in themselves and maybe one other person. They're like, if I take off, there won't be worship. It's not like I even have that luxury. And so I know that's the case, but it emphasizes even more how much we should be investing, like you just said, in other people. And if you have other vocalists, I think that's one practical step, is to let other people lead some, even most of the songs. I try to do that. Sometimes I'm not very intentional. It just happens. I'm like, oh, someone else should sing the song because the key flows that way. It would just be best. And then some weeks go by where if we lead 4 or 5 songs, I'm singing every single one of them. And my wife will be like, hey, what's cool is when you're not the one singing every song. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely the worst singer of all of our vocalists, I feel like. Everybody's like, it's so funny. My mom's like, oh, that person over there. She's my favorite singer. And I'm like, what am I? Like chopped liver? Come on.
Dude, you got a good voice. I saw some footage in that vlog. That was good.
Oh, thanks, dude.
You got a nice setup too. Your stage is very pretty.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, you should have seen it when I came here 12 years ago. It's been a slow burn, but gradually we've added stuff here and there. Love. Yes,
I bet. That's awesome. Well, tell me, since we've talked about that, and there may be more come up, but I want to know more about you, and I want to know your biggest. I didn't ask you this. You have no idea what I'm about to say. What's your biggest worship fail? I love watching that Instagram account with worship fail.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Do you have one or multiple that you can choose from? Share with us.
Oh yeah, I have lots of them. The one that sticks out in my mind always is back whenever I was leading at a youth disciple now in Forney, Texas. And this church was meeting in a school, and they had, I don't know, a few hundred kids there at this thing. And they had built this little stage extension out, and I was on that, and we were doing Undignified by David Crowder. And so, of course, we're all jumping up and down. And I'm standing there on top of this rug. All of a sudden, I plummet through the through the stage extension, and the carpet falls down in the hole, and it kind of catches me, and then I get out, and I'm still just rock fisting it. And the whole thing was after the worship service, they were like, "Well, thanks for breaking our stage." Like they weren't even concerned about me. So.
Right, yeah, you're like, I didn't break a leg because of your
shoddy
stage.
Yeah. That one was fun, but I've definitely had lots of the, oops, I put a capo on the wrong fret, or the click tracks coming through. I mean, we had one this last Sunday where we send videos separately to our live stream that have post-service stuff where it's like, hey, thanks so much for joining us online. They're finishing up in there. I forgot to change something on the settings, and it started playing over the speakers this last Sunday as service was ending. And I'm like, well, sorry, guys, that was my fault, so...
Especially if you don't get time to explain what happened and everybody's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I've never had a stage malfunction, but I think on the Worship Fails Instagram, there was one where there's 3 stages, the guy's out in the front, and I think he might have been the pastor, I don't know. And it falls down. He's like, he didn't fall. And he's like, ta-da. Oh, but I can imagine.
I broke a string a couple weeks ago, and I was definitely in that mode of what do I do with my hands now? It's like, this is awkward. So I just tried to play it off. That's exactly how I plan to do this set. I've never taken my guitar off in 12 years, but I'm going no guitar on this one.
Nice. Good job. I actually played no guitar this past weekend. We had an outdoor service, and there was just 4 of us. It was just acoustic set. I know the other guy loves to play acoustic guitar. He's really good at it. So I was like, I don't need to play this week. And so I did my best. My wife was like, just make sure you don't do your rapping hands. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, but now, thank you. I'll be thinking about it.
Yeah. Anyway. Thanks a bunch.
Yeah, exactly.
So true.
I was trying to think of fails that I've had. I've done the capo thing, or maybe the capo's correct, but I play the G chord a half fret up. Now I do that all the time, just as a joke for sound check. I'm trying to, especially if I'm a guest somewhere and I'd really just want to make them worry. But I went to a show one time. This was a concert, it was a Christian concert, and the guy was in the band was, I think, nervous, and he did that, but he couldn't correct it. he could not see what was going on. And he was trying. I was like, oh, this is painful for all of us. And he couldn't, like, he knew something was wrong. He was like trying to sing a song and he was looking, but he just couldn't figure out what was wrong.
Oh my gosh. I've got a buddy that anytime he plays the wrong note on the electric guitar, he'll look at his tuning pegs like, something's wrong with this. That wasn't me.
Yeah, couldn't have been. Well, man, I think this was a very good discussion. I think you have a lot more content that obviously people need to watch on your channel, but I would love to have you back on this channel if you're up for it. So
yeah, dude. Yeah. Let's do it anytime. I love just connecting with guys we're all just doing the same thing, in our own spots where God's placed us. And it's just cool getting to chat and figure out and bounce ideas off each other and just encourage each other,
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Awesome, man. Well, thank you guys for watching the video. If you liked it, hit like, subscribe, do all the things. Subscribe to my channel because we're almost at 10,000. Subscribe to his channel because he's almost at 3,000. Numbers are important. Not really, but anyways. All right. All right. Well, we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.